Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, hope you're all doing alright out there. So, one of the big benefits of being a YouTuber in the motorcycle industry on YouTube and having like 2,300 videos that cover pretty much every subject you could ever think of, plus the fact that I actually do read my comments. And by the way, the comments come in from every video in one stream, so I can see every comment on every video as it comes in. And that's why I reply to stuff like 10, 12-year-old videos. And people are like, what the hell, you're still replying? Like, yeah, I haven't gone anywhere. Of course I'm going to reply. One of the benefits of that, obviously, is you get to see trends and things that are happening within the industry, as it were, or common issues that are affecting people. Now, obviously, the cost of insurance has been something that comes up from time to time, and it's got a mean rumble in the background, as it were. But just recently, maybe in the last 5 or 6 months, I've had 10 comments or so from people saying that they're trying to get insurance on their motorcycle, but they're getting quotes in the area of £7,000, and every single one of them has been a £6,000, £7,000 or £8,000 quote. Now, to all of these people, I've replied and said, no, don't worry, that is erroneous, that is wrong. I once got a £7,000 quote on a bike which was worth £1,400 brand new on the road. My first Pulse, because it was a Chinese import, well, it was a grey import, so it's kind of like, and at the time, because it was so long ago, they didn't really know what these things were. Some insurance companies you'd go to would say £7,000, but if you went to the right one, £800. So why are people getting £7,000 insurance quotes? Well, I think the answer to this is possibly twofold. I'll start with the first bit, which also refers back to a video I made many years ago, which was about how to get cheaper insurance, and it was such a simple thing. When your insurance company calls you for a renewal, say to them, I want it cheaper. Because they can offer you discounts, they can make it cheaper, and they should offer those to you, but at the time I felt like companies weren't, and I've saved bundles of money on insurance by just calling them up for a renewal and saying, well, I'd like it to be cheaper than that, please. And they're like, well, that's the price. And I'm like, well, maybe I don't get insurance with you. And they're like, well, let me go and speak to someone. And then they come back and they're like, I can knock 80 quid off, 100 quid off. Meaningful money. Now, since I made that video, I believed that some rules are brought in that basically insurance companies were supposed to be fair to you and give you the discounts that they could give you. They weren't supposed to, give you a jacked up price or give you a price higher than what they could do it for. But I don't know if that was a real thing or whether it got through or whether they're just ignoring it or what. But recently, a YouTube channel that deals with cars, and I'm sorry, I cannot remember what the name of the channel is, I don't watch car stuff, this video got recommended to me because it was to do with insurance, I guess. And he's basically discovered that there are companies out there that just basically won't give you a discount on your renewal unless you ask for it. Or even on a quote, I think. If you don't ask them to reduce it more, they won't. Now, from his investigation point, he was saying, if you call and ask, the company should do that. If you don't call and the employee of that place gives you a discount, they're going to get a disciplinary for giving a discount on something that wasn't asked for. So now, by default, is best to, if you're having a renewal, is to just call them and say, I want it to be less. How much can you do it for less? Just as a default, even if they turn around and say, well, we can't make it any cheaper than that, fine. At least you've asked and you've got yourself an opportunity there to have possibly got a discount. So the second thing that kind of leads into the first, for a reason I'll get into in a minute, is the fact that I think people are using comparison sites and seeing what that quote on the comparison site is as the price you will pay. To my understanding, it is very often totally unrelated to what you'll actually end up paying, and it could be significantly less if you call them, because you can ask those discounts and all those sorts of things. But I also think that there is a thing with younger generations that they don't like using mobile phones, or don't like using phones to talk directly to people. They love to text, they love to live chat and stuff like that, but they don't like talking. May not be the truth for every single one of you, but it's a trend that I noticed, and I've seen it brought up in more recent years, that younger generations, I'm 38 by the way, so younger generations and myself don't like speaking on the phone. Whereas in people like me, I don't like speaking on the phone unless I need to solve a problem. Then I want to be on the phone because it is the quickest way of finding out a solution to a problem, but also holding people sort of to account. Because if you're like, can you do it cheaper? Can you? Is a lot more effective when you're doing that in person than it is when you're over the phone, than if you're doing it through an email. I think the answer to the question of why am I getting quotes of £7,000, £8,000 is most likely you're young, you haven't maybe put all your details in correctly, you've put a very expensive bike in maybe, or maybe the website's just being a bit funky, and then you've taken the quote off of the comparison site as a figure that you think they're going to try and charge you. Then, with that information, rather than going and calling the company or calling other insurance companies and trying to find out a mean average amongst the companies to see whether this is a realistic price, they come to my comments and say, what the hell, I'm getting quoted this, and it's entirely putting me off biking. And I'm like, on one hand, I'm kind of annoyed that you aren't doing like the obvious work that you have to do to get decent prices, which is call around, get comparisons, find out what the average is, stuff like that for you. But on the other hand, I understand the frustration, and maybe you're just looking for a straight answer to know where to go next. And that's my suggestion. Do the legwork, call around, get quotes, and go with whatever one fits you best. Also remember, there's all sorts of things that are going to affect the price of the insurance way beyond your age and the bike. Now, I don't want to name any particular brand here as a better one over another one. I have done a little bit of promotion for an insurance broker in the past, and because I don't want to be in any way seen as biased, I'm going to make no suggestion as to who to go with, and just say, yeah, maybe it would be helpful if there was like a guide price of what the average 19-year-old pays for a certain bike. But as I say, the problem is, depending on where they live, depending on where they keep it, depending on their job, depending on loads of things like that, which are to the individual, not the bike, they're the things that actually make the bigger difference, unfortunately. One of my Discord members had insurance on his motorcycle in London, and then when he moved out of London, it seemed like the price went down by about a third instantaneously. Now, it's not like he moved entirely away from London. He's still within up around 80 miles of where he used to live, I think, roughly. I think that's about right. But it massively dropped his insurance cost. And yes, the problem is there was a couple other things that might have had an effect in that. It wasn't a straight comparison, but it did seem like it was a major part of it. So, as I say, location and the crime in your area, the bike that you have, in the sense of how many get stolen, can have an effect on it. So there you go, there is my tip. It hasn't really changed since the old days. It is call up the company, get a quote, and then ask for it to be reduced, and just see where you can get with that. And I'd say for people in the comments, you have to say like where you live or anything like that, but if you could, like, so I don't know, A2 license, CBR 500R, riding for this many years, or this many years no claims, although that doesn't really have a huge effect, and if you have up to anything over 7 years, it makes no difference. If you could say like a rough amount of what you've been paying, and also if people can mention drops in their insurance they've noticed, like for instance, the first couple of years of insurance on a motorcycle, any of them, it's going to be expensive unless you've got experience on bikes. But after that, it starts dropping off really fast. And as I say, like with getting this big data, as it were, from the comments, if people can put comments in on this now, there's a lot of information to there that you can look through and find that average and know whether it's about right or it's too much. And we might even notice a trend of what the insurance prices are doing. But if you are not calling up your insurance brokers or insurance companies, underwriters, whoever it is you're dealing with, and saying, can it be less? You won't get less, it would seem. Depending on the company, I can't speak for all of them or any of them. There you go. So as I say, yeah, comment below, like the video if you liked it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Huge thanks to my Patreon supporters and YouTube membership members. Bye-bye.